for taking out your time to be present and to share this dialogue. I've written a very long paper, and I'm not sure you have had your lunch. So nobody should collapse, and I don't even see you drinking water. So it's either I read my paper or I talk to you. You want to listen to the paper? Do you want me to talk to you? Very good, I will talk to you. So the paper is already with your IT unit, and they can be streaming it, but I think actually I have to talk to you. But the conclusion of my paper is a very simple statement. Education is at the heart of every human settlement. And when we talk about education, we talk about that dimension of the human being that builds you into a cultured person. The person Almighty God has made you to be. You are created in innocence, but education is that path. I know the word education is English, but it comes from Latin. Educo, educare, educavi, educatum. And educo has three meanings in Latin. Educo, to lead. Educo, to culture. Educo, to character. So education is the ability to be a leader, the ability to be a cultured person, and the ability to have a civilization around you. This is what every society has tried to do since antiquity. Everywhere you go, human beings want to create an environment where there can be a knowledge factor and a skills factor. These days, when we are told this man is educated, what do we hear? This person has a degree in philosophy, a degree in medicine, a degree in whatever subject, a certificate, and our people say the person is educated. That is one side. Because education is comprehensive. Education is a totality of everything. Education is knowledge and virtue. Knowledge is formality, 1 + 1, 2, 2 + 2, 4. But being able to say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, welcome sir, thank you, I am sorry, that's another level. That's the level of character. And people are big men, drive big cars, are educated, they are driving a car, they are eating a peel of banana, they pull down their window and throw the banana over the window while driving in any one each road. And he's an educated man, an educated woman. But you can see that this person has not understood the comprehensibility of what education actually stands for. So today we are talking to young people whose future is before, is looking ahead, and who need, during the period of being students in a comprehensive university, to think about the knowledge they acquire, but besides the knowledge, the virtues they acquire, but besides the virtues, the skills they acquire. These make you a human being. Virtue. And that's why Socrates, you have heard that name probably in philosophy. One of the ancients, he lived before Christ. Socrates said, knowledge is virtue. To know is to be well behaved. He didn't say knowledge is development of IT and other things, because these are acquisitions a normal being can do. Socrates found the height of knowledge as good living, good behavior. Look around you. What do you see everywhere in the world? Let us start from North Africa. Some of you have traveled through Africa with your finger on the map. Understand? So we start from the tip of Africa. The country on the left in north is Morocco. They are on the road, striking. It's a kingdom. It's an Islamic kingdom. Morocco is disbalanced. Just move from Morocco and go into the next country, which is Tunisia, and the next country, which is Algeria, and the next country, which is Libya, and the next country, which is Egypt. What do we find in the North African countries? We find turmoil. Look at Libya with Mohammed Gaddafi. This is a very rich country with plenty of oil. But Libya is in a war that has escalated into Nigeria because Mohammed Gaddafi is known as the strong man. But the whole of North Africa is destabilized. Leave North Africa. Come a little bit below. Go to the countries of the Sahel, from Mauritania in the left and Spanish Sahara, through Mali, through Burkina Faso, through Niger, through Chad, through Central African Republic, hit it to the end, to Somalia. What do you see there? War. The countries, 3 of them, have left the ECOWAS and joined another region. They have left the ECOWAS to become now part of the so-called Sahelian states. Reason, they don't have democratic governments. Military is in charge. But we saw military in Nigeria. We saw military in 1966. We saw the military in 1970s and in 1980s. In the 1990s, late, we wished goodbye to the military and we entered what we call a democratic dispensation. What do you see? You see a democratic dispensation in Nigeria and elsewhere, but you see those who were already with military going back to military government because they say, we tried this one, it did not work. We tried this one, it did not work. Let us go back to war. Anything goes. So we have now reached a stage of people tolerating anything goes. Now go to the West Coast and the East Coast. Start from countries like Senegal. Go through Senegal into Gambia, into Sierra Leone, into Liberia, Togo and Benin and Nigeria. Cross Nigeria and enter Cameroon. Cameroon. 94-year-old man, Paul Biya. He was just elected president for another 6 years, 2 weeks ago. There was no election. He does not live in Cameroon. He lives in Geneva, where I have lived for many years. That's where the French total gave him a flag. But he is the president of Cameroon. Cameroon is collapsed. It is a country that has a contraption of inversion. Some of you can drive a car. When you drive a car, you put gear 1, then you change to gear 2. You climb into gear 3 and 4 and 5 and you are speeding. Cameroon is driving a car with reverse gear. You know what it means? You are not moving forward, you are moving backward. So when you pass Nigeria, and I will come to that because we are discussing ethics in higher education, and go into past Cameroon and continue to Central African Republic and to those countries of Congo, the rich Congo, whether it's Brazzaville and so on, till you hit Kenya and Ethiopia and then of course Tanzania, the East Coast. This is the bright of our continent of Africa with 54 countries. What do you see in each and every one of them? You see thriving youth. The only continent with youth populations below 25 years, 80%. You know what it means? This is the continent of life, the continent of youth, the continent of the future, the continent of hope, the continent where in a country like Uganda, you don't need to plant anything. Eat a banana, throw it away, it just grows. Take a maize, eat it, throw it away, it just grows. But this is the continent where the British ambassador will come to Nigeria and say, we are the headquarters of poverty in the world. And you know what is poverty? The English word for poverty is translated into Igbo as Obiora. And when you hear what we call Obiora, Mobu Ogbenye, never give, because you cannot help yourself. But go even down to the southern parts of the continent. Think about those countries starting from Azania, because that's the name, that's what we call South Africa. the Rainbow Nation. That's where one of us has just come from, Chinedu, who is here when we introduced at the beginning. From South Africa, through you can talk about countries around there, the small, what's called kingdoms, but then go to Mozambique, to Angola, and go up to Zimbabwe. What do we see? In South Africa, the homicide, killing of them. They don't say, where is the money? The criminal don't say, where is the money? Come out of the car. They shoot before they talk. The trigger is very flimsy. That's why you buy a Kalamazoo for $2,000, guns circulating. So we reached a world on the African continent where wherever we look, the questions remain. What are we doing with these young people? And what has happened? The young people have decided to vote with their legs. So they are leaving the country in thousands and millions. They are walking on foot from Nigeria through the Sahara. And they say, where you are going? They say they are going to Europe. What are you going to do in Europe? Anything. They let me leave Nigeria. And once we have done a trip and some study over the Sahel, where you leave Kano and continue to Lulu or Katsina and you pass into Agades and continue towards the desert, what you see are skeletons, not of tens, but of hundreds of thousands of Nigerian youth who decide to walk on foot to leave their country because they think there is an El Dorado elsewhere. And when they reach the tips of the Mediterranean Sea, and you can see that Mediterra, middle of the world, that's what the sea is called. When they reach there, you cannot swim. The River is not a place to swim, it's too dirty. The Ajali River is not a place to swim, it's too far. So they cannot swim. They wait for people who will now take them. And they have to pay as much money as possible so that they can jump into a boat. And the boats collapsed in the middle of the Atlantic or the Mediterranean Sea. And we've lost thousands. The statistics of the UN show that in the last 10 years, over 50,000 African youth have died in the Mediterranean Sea and are buried in the bowels of sharks and fish. Is that the world you chose? Now some have decided to do other things. To go not through the rivers, but to do all sorts of illicit things because of desperation. And here before me are those who are being educated. And now the statistics again. You have finished school, you come out, there's no job waiting for you. You are going around with your certificate from one office to another. I've seen a banker here, the senior director of Stanbic Bank. I hope you bank with them. And I'm told that when you want to join a bank in Nigeria, the interviews that go before you, the process of being accepted, just put out an advert. We want people who want to be bankers to apply. They are studying finance, they are studying all these subjects, business administration. There will be 3,000 applications for one space. 2,900 don't have a space. And then you eventually manage to get into. A young banker was telling me, in spite of all I have gone through, all the trainings, I came to my office 2 months ago, picked my laptop, opened it, that was run with code, so I've been fired. In fact, they don't tell you I fired you. You just cannot even enter into the system to operate. This is the situation, and when I say it, I'm looking at how ethics in higher education, how capacity building, and how challenging you to take your destinies into your hands can become a new way of life. One gentleman just entered into this hall. He's not in Nigeria. He comes from Austria. He's my guest since 1 week. Mr. Ferdinand Meyer. If Ferdinand will stand up for the students to see him, what will be something? Why is Ferdinand here? Ferdinand is here with his team known as Fidesco since 20 years. They supported the candidates of Enugu in our territory to start a project we call Oruaka Dema. Not all of you speak Igbo, but Olwaka means handwork is good. Because my people said, I'm going to do Oyibo work. Just carry pick and paper and write. And they say, what are I'm a civil servant. What is a civil servant? Let's not go there. But they carry files and they do the work of government and they try to serve society and serve the public. Some are also public servants. But then at the end of the month, you are paid X amount of money. I asked Kenapep, how much do you earn in a day? He said, in a day I earn average of 20,000 naira. So I said, so it means in 5 days you earn 100? They say yes. So it means in 1 month you earn 400,000? I say yes. And I have to pay tax to government. So Kenapep earns 400,000 naira in a month. Those driving in Enugu, average, plus minus, even half it, make it 50% less, then it is 200,000 naira. People are civil servants. They go to work. The minimum wage in Nigeria is 70,000 naira. So you wake up from your house to go to work, you come back, you go to work every day, you come back, and at the end of the month you earn 70,000 naira. EFCC is here. And the question is, where does corruption come from? How does corruption start? Of course, if there's no value, there's no character, there's no conscience, there's no regulation, corruption can thrive. But that's one. The other one is you gave a dog a bone and said, look after the bone. And you didn't give the dog food. You know the temptation is more. So our civil servants in minimum wage are earning 70,000 naira. But then they cannot survive with it in a month. Because what you pay in a rent is so little. So Ferdinand said, with us, with his team, we want to train young Nigerians to have handicraft. Let them know how to manufacture a table. Let them know how to build a house. Let them know how to be mechanics. Let them know how to be electricians. Let them know how to do iron works. And they will not be unemployed, and they will not have to depend on anybody. But we shall not give them skills only. We shall also give them character. Are you with us? In the past few years, Orwa Academa in Enugu has trained over 1,000 young boys and girls, and not one is unemployed. Not one is unemployed. As soon as they are finishing, Innocent, the big company, is already asking, can I take you? The other one for the girls, all the hotels in Enugu, because of a lot of hotels, you need somebody to cook. You need somebody to dress a room. You need somebody to make a bed. You need somebody to clean the place. You need somebody to serve. We have set up also another school for as many young girls as possible, managed together with the Cali women to train young girls to become caterers, to become computer literate. So they come out, they go to university. Going to university is very important because it is knowledge, it is research. They do further studies, but they have a skill. And that is what Peter Mba, the governor of Enugu State, said recently in experiential learning. We want now, tomorrow, to be here, reason. The young children of today who are going to nursery schools, they cannot cope with the young children in America and Europe who have been given everything ahead by society and by education and by technology and by environment and law. We are still so primitive in comparison. So Peter Mba says, I will do what you call smart schools. Smart. Smart. You know, smart here means owl. To be smart here is to be clever in a negative way. But smart school means you have a tablet, you can touch it, it can print, you can do some, you can design an agricultural project, you can manipulate things and produce, you can be authentically, let me say, original in your thinking. What has happened in education? Children come into a class, teacher says, say after me, 1 plus 1, 2. 2 plus 2, 4. 4 plus 4, 8. 8 plus 8, 16. Clap for her to pass the exam. During the exam, they ask you the questions, you answer it, they give you a certificate you have passed. What do you know? Nothing new. A teacher now comes into the class and the student says, teacher, you said 1 plus 1 is 2. What is 1? Teacher will say, shut up your mouth. Just say after me. So teacher, no, I don't accept. I want to know what is 1. The student is now teaching the teacher. The student tells the teacher, don't you know that 1 is basing it on 10, the lowest unit? Teacher says no. In arithmetic, what we call it is pure ED, quod erat demonstrandum. Because you cannot do into infinity, so you must assume. And that is science. Science assumes. I come back to the point. Talking to students on ethics in higher education is a topic that is delicate, but without ethics, you have no chance. If you lose a life is gone. If you lose a character, if you lose shame, what else? In fact, someone said something like, and listen to that very carefully. It's a proverb, it's in my paper and you'll hear it later. If you lose your health, it is already bad enough. You lose your wealth, money, it's already bad enough. Now, you lose your integrity, your name. What else do you have? You are a naked human being running around. And that is what has happened, that shame has gone in our society. And when shame has gone, who are you? When you run naked, what is there again to keep? This is where ethics goes in to say that there are things you cannot change. You cannot change your health absolutely because everybody must die. You cannot even change nature because nature remains. But you can change the difference between a lie and the truth. You can determine how to stand. And you can say, I don't want to live kneeling down. I want to live standing. There are a few things you can do. You can say, I want integrity. They go into a classroom. What happens in university? Teacher asks a question. Chat GPT. Have you heard about it? Have you heard about it? Artificial intelligence. Have you heard about it? So students, I want you to write a paper on the topic of whatever topic. Why companies fail in Nigeria. Why do businesses fail in Nigeria? An Austrian student where I studied will sit down. Why do companies fail? Companies fail because they go to the company. Why is it? Find out the corporation statutes and so on. My people here, ChatGPT, why do they fail? The answer is there. Just change I to Z, submit. So we become intellectual thieves. But we don't call it stealing. We don't even call it research. We call it in Igbo land, mapia. So when you mapia, what does your brain do? Your brain goes to sleep. And when your brain stops sleeping, you become what Fela Kuti calls zombie. Zombie, oh zombie, zombie. Tell them to go right. Ajoro, jara, ajoro. Tell them to go left because your head is no more moving. Your brain is no more working. You are what? A robot. And I want to use that point to advise you. Do some thinking. We all have calculators. You only need to count the money in your pocket. 20 naira plus 30 naira plus 70 naira. Father, wait. Telephone 20 plus. Brain is there. This thing that we produced was supposed to, is configured according to the brain. It is the brain that translated a machine. He said, oh brain, wait, let me just calculate it. The answer is this. You have delegated your authenticity and your originality to technology. So you have become a zombie. It's a topic of ethics in higher education. Pull back. Retain your originality. That which you can keep it. Don't outsource everything. Because I bring you another topic, and this is now a global topic. In the early part of the 19th century, one man called Mao Zedong, you know that name, he was a Chinese leader. China, a country of 1,350,000,000 people. Nigeria, a country of 240, 230 million. We never counted, but we guess it. We just presume it. We just presume that. There was a census in Nigeria. It was 2006. That's the last census in Nigeria. 2016 is 20 years. 2026, we just say they are delivering babies. So we just put 10% every year. Mao Zedong closed his country, closed the boundaries, refused any Chinese to get out, stayed in this country. They were a primitive people. You have to feed 1 billion plus. They started using hoes and knives. They started manufacturing their own tractors, their own ways. They started to feed themselves as much as they could. When you go to a Chinese restaurant and they give you rat and snake and cockroach, please, it is food that is eaten in those parts of the world. And that's what your Indomie contains, by the way. So bear it in mind. This is not the marketing, this is the fact. So they gave people to eat whatever as long as human beings can survive. But the country started maturing in technology, in people doing it hand by hand. The country became stronger. But everybody in the West, especially America during the Cold War, said, we want to enter China. We want to market because here is a producer. You are producing cars, you are producing technology, you are producing television, you are producing fan, you are producing microphone. If you produce, you must sell. That's economics. Demand and supply determines the market. So I produce, I need a buyer. The buyer is a country with quantitative people like China. So what has happened? You must open, you must open, you must open. Mao Zedong was dead. Xi Jinping came in and said, okay, we open the doors. He opened the doors of China. Companies, pharmaceuticals, car industries, technological institutions, IT firms outsource their businesses to China. They set up industries in China. Europe, Austria, and so on set up businesses in China. Reason, we shall make more money. What I pay somebody to work for 1 hour in a European country, in a Western country is $20 1 hour, $30 1 hour. What I pay somebody to do the same in China is $2. So if I outsource my company and China produces for $2, I will bring it back to Europe or to America and sell it for that $30 and I will make $28 profit. Greed, another vice. So they outsourced their companies and China became a dominant global economy. China now starts to produce everything. This fan, anything you look, you will see made in China. So China has become a dominant. And now these other countries that outsource their things to China start getting angry again against China. Enugu Airport, China. Bridge, China. Abuja Airport, China. I was in Zambia last time, China. I was in Ghana Airport, China. I look at the airports, I look at the bridges, I look at the roads, I look at the infrastructure, and now China has brought out bigger money for centers like your university. If you want Chinese money, I will take your Vice Chancellor, Professor Igwe, you are here. You will go to this Chinese embassy, they will give you, set up a Confucius Center where they bring you all sorts of things, technology. China is even hiring Nigerians to go to China. Even my chief house at Alta Night, my Mansaba, she has entered the aeroplane, received blessing, and now learning China. So that when he finishes learning Chinese, he will be selling Chinese goods in Nigeria. China has taken over. They say this is made in China. How many Mercedes-Benz do you see on the roads again? What we are seeing now is Mpomachis. Don't you see Mpomachis on the road? These small cars and the Keke Napep, which comes from India, they are overtaking the road. We have in Enugu City 42,000 Keke Napeps. So when you finish university education, you can look for Keke Napep. That's why you went to school for 4 or 5 years. So we are discussing existential matters. There are global consequences, there are local consequences. What makes you who you are? And this is the fundamental question. What makes you who you are is your integrity. Obasanjo wrote a book. The title of the book is Who Are You? The people gave answers. Obasanjo wrote it in the introduction. This person told me, don't you know who I am? I'm the army general. The other person said, I'm the son of Okonkwo Okafor. The other person said, I'm the owner of this road. Well, who are you? Is your identity owner of this road? Who are you? So, find your identity, and nobody can give you that answer. If you have never stood before a mirror to look at your face and question and say, is this me? And we'll start with our young sisters and our ladies, because they have to be pretty, so they have to package their faces very well with all the things that they do. And now I talk to you about a topic called nanotechnology. Nanotechnology is the entire cosmetic industry. And the cosmetic industry comes with these poisons. So many times you are making your face. Of course, we've seen it with Ambi, which made you look from dark to white in those days, and eventually sent you back from light to double dark. You keep on using it, and when you stop, it reverses and goes back to original color or the red dark. Okay? But the fact about nanotechnology is an issue that has become serious, because as we try to pancake our faces, and we have to do it, we have to be neat. But as we overdo it, probably that's the word, what we do is, and I'm discussing cancer research. I sit as Pro-Chancellor of the Medical University in Nigeria, came back just 2 weeks ago, not up to 2 weeks ago from abroad, discussing how we can support Nigeria, and I saw cancer. So we are feeding people with things that must give them cancer. Medical students, take note if you are here. Other students should take note. And then we are not producing adequate drugs that will cure the sicknesses. So we are already committed to growing and dying, and the quantities are not enough until we study. So I want to bring us back to who you are. What am I? Is my color, my dressing, my being, or am I an identity independent of all other things? So claim your identity. If you can forget every other thing I said, claim to be somebody. You cannot claim to be nothing. And some live for nothing and die for nothing. What are you living for? What are you standing for? Of course, we need to live in a society, because a human being is body, mind, and soul. You are an individual, you live in a society, but the interaction between I and we is where the ethical component comes from. And the first rule of ethical behavior, even in higher education, cause no harm. Cause no harm. So some people do night prayer. I use that as an example about causing harm, because they don't even know. You bring your microphone, put it on the main road, whether it's a church or a mosque or religious place or people who are doing parties. So there is a neighborhood. It is 10 o'clock in the night. This one has headache. This one has kidney failure. There's a hospital in the environment. But the music is blowing. And this person has been given a tablet by the doctor to sleep. Needs quiet to get back. Some people are entertaining themselves and the noise is dimming. And they are happy. But they are causing harm without knowing. It is not about unintended harm. That is why you need the regulator to regulate it. So we live in a society of bazaar. If you take cause no harm as an ideal, then you will know that you live as a student in a room with 5 other students, with 6 other students, that you have a toilet where other students go. You say, I'm an educationist, I'm educated. But when you visit a toilet and leave it, and another person comes to the toilet and wouldn't want to go in there, then you cause harm. Because you must meet a toilet and leave a toilet the way you wished it should be. It is possible. There's nothing impossible about being neat. It's a criteria
of also virtue. That's why they say next to God, neatness or cleanliness is next to godliness. You cannot be dirty outside or inside and want to be godly. Even when we preach in churches and we tell our people you have to behave, you have to show that your character and your activities sync. Of course, this was not going to be a sermon. This was going to be an aperitif. That's what you eat or drink before the main course. I want to come to a conclusion. What makes ethics in higher education an ingredient? There are 5 points. What we call research ethics. You must do research. Research ethics is not about cloning another person's mind. Research ethics is about being authentic. First point, original. And if I have to take some other person's ideas, quote, cite, show where you got it from, so that you buttress your research. So don't just take somebody's thing. I mean, there are cases of people who saw a thesis, they just removed page 1, put their name, and submitted it. What did you achieve? You achieve what an armed robber does. They go to a bank, where is the money? They collect the money. You didn't go with a gun, you collected some other person's mind and cloned it. So that is a dimension in higher education where we tell students, try and read more and not just copy. And if you must quote somebody, quote correctly. Do you know this thing about copying? It makes you lazy, and the mind is infinite. Each person's mind here is infinite. There is no stage you cannot reach. I was a young boy of 22 when I was studying in Austria. It was Christmas time, and I was in a private family where a Jesuit Reverend Father was. He was celebrating his 70th birthday. And I was there, and he presented a book which he had written, and I got a copy. But what they call autogram, he wrote in my own book, when you are 50, may you have 50 books authored by you. And I picked it and opened it. I've never written a book, and this man is telling me to write 50. Does he know what he's talking about? The citation spoke about over 100 titles that bear my name, and I'm not finished yet, because 2 had just come out last month and 1 more is coming out this month. You can, but you must believe in yourself. So the point 1 is originality, whether it's in research. That's why I talk about plagiarism, research ethics. Number 2, think about admissions in university. Who should be admitted? It has to do with higher education institutions. We have in Nigeria 2 million people apply for places of admission in a year. 2 million. We have 290 universities, private and public, in the whole country. The whole country cannot take 2 million applications in 1 year. So many students are left. Probably university admissions in a whole year does not go beyond 250 to 300,000. At Suma's highest, we employ, take 200-300. UNN will take 2,000, 3,000. UNN will take probably 4,000, 5,000. Count all the universities that have capacity. ASUT might take the same, plus minus 10,000. But all the universities together, you are thinking about 300,000. 1.7 million are not given admission. Year 1. They have to wait for another year. Another group comes to them, and it continues. So what happens with admission? Who knows who knows who? If you do not know who knows, you don't get an admission easily. And this is a topic that has to do with institutional activity, institutional admission process that creates a transparency that makes those who are qualified to gain it. If I'm a medical doctor I'm a professor in the university, my son has failed, I will bring my son to become a student in that university. I will prioritize my son. That is the public space where ethics in higher education has a place. But then you talk about the teacher, because we designed in Geneva, where I've been the CEO, we designed the 4 levels of applying ethics in higher education, with the student, with the teacher, with the institution, and with the professionals. Let me talk to the teacher. The Latin say it, nemo dat quod non habet. Nemo, no one, quod, can, that give, habet, what it does not have. So you can only give what you have. I started teaching at 30 years plus in the Netherlands. And what happened to me in class? I was teaching students, and at the end of the session, students were evaluating the teacher. And they either passed me or failed me. Can you think about you evaluating your teachers here? Is it done? I'm very happy to hear that. Because when students can evaluate their teachers, the teachers will also learn. The teacher cannot know it all. The teacher is always a student. In fact, the law is we are constantly and always learners, always students. You can never know it enough because you are not infinite. That's why society and institutions of government need complementarity. EFCC will complement with ICPC, ICPC will complement with the banks, they will complement with police, will complement with DSS, and so then they share the information. But when they run monolithic, only one, then they are parallels, and it does not sync. And that's also part of the problem we have here. So besides the originality of research, let me talk about that of the teachers. Teachers, allow yourselves also to be taught and allow your students the normal thing, of course, and think about one area we call bullying. I've been the pro-chancellor for some time in Jos, in Plateau State University, and they brought me. They had not had a pro-chancellor for some time, and there was problem. You can imagine somebody from Enugu State going to be pro-chancellor in Plateau State, and they brought me all the teachers who were due for promotion, professor, reader, lecturer. For 7 years, not one teacher within the university had been promoted. Because that was the first thing I said. How come that in this university there are no professional capacity for, and other teachers had hidden it and locked it up in shops. The cupboards were filled with applications of people who needed to be promoted. I'm talking about ethics. So they use the word pull her down or pull him down. PhD. Don't allow another to move forward. Keep everybody down. It's happening not only there, elsewhere. So we had to review it, and within shortest period, we make sure that those who are qualified got to their what they should get. We did it in ASUT, where I served in council for many years. So I do think that this entire thing about teacher, and then the institution itself, every university that wants to advance into the future needs to have a directorate of ethics. And that's my recommendation to Coal City University. If you go to Godfrey Okoye University, they have it already. If you go to Abuja University, Covenant University, and so on, they have it. Lagos Business School, Pan Atlantic University, because sitting in Geneva, we did what you might call a global approach to directorates of ethics in higher institutions. Because a student is bullied, whom do you complain to? But through the Directorate of Ethics in Higher Education, it was possible to move these things to that level. So I've spoken about these 4 areas, and I think I've tried to touch some of the small things, and I didn't go deeper into what students do to themselves. But you know more than I do. I started by talking about illicit drugs, and you can talk about the rest. Think about sexual bullying, sexual harassment. Think about, internet bullying, which is also another level, where you badmouth each other, where you tell lies against each other. Ethics in higher education is that component that makes you not only refined but dignified. And when you come out with a certificate, what they write in a certificate, any certificate, having proven compliance, whatever, in learning and character. Because the university does not give you only on learning or knowledge, they give you on learning and on character. That's what I take. That's what we take home. I want to thank the university for allowing me to address these students. I've been part of Coal City University for a long time, before it was officially approved. I've known the promoters for many, many years. I've known the family for many years. And I've guided from afar and from near and wished very well that this university becomes something. You know what it means to be a member of Coal City? You know what Coal City means? We are proud Enugurians. And Enugu is a place where 042 is not just, 042 is technology, but coal is what came before 042 came. So that a university has taken that name is an appellate. It is something we should recognize and make out of this university the best. But it's not the buildings, it is you who are the students. Congratulations to all of you as we continue to work hard. God bless you.
Please, can we all stand in as we give him a very wonderful round of applause. If you are not clapping, you are a suspect. Are you tired of clapping? Clap until you sit down. That was a very wonderful public lecture by very Reverend Monsignor Professor Obiora. Thank you so much. You may be seated. Before we proceed, we have some personality.